Hello. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 39th Annual Brown School Awards distinction. It's really good to see you all here on a gorgeous day in this beautiful building. I'm Rodrigo Reis, the interim co-dean of the Brown School and professor of public health, and I'm deeply honored to be here with you this evening. This event is a special chance to celebrate members of the Brown School community who perpetuate the values of social work, public health, and social policy in their professional and personal lives. Thank you for joining us this evening. I want to take a moment to welcome you, the faculty, staff, students, alumni, and friends of the Brown School, the friends and family of tonight's honorees, as well as members of the school's National Council and other friends of Washington University. We also have many alumni and friends joining via live stream. Thank you all for being part of this wonderful tradition in which we recognize the accomplishments of outstanding alumni and leaders in our community. Tonight, we will recognize 8 remarkable honorees, 3 emerging leaders honorees, 4 distinguished alumni honorees, and the recipient of the Brown School Dean's Medal. Our honorees make a difference throughout the world, and their remarkable achievements and impact are a key source of our reputation as a premier center for learning, discovery, and service to society. Before you recognize tonight's honorees, I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to honor our past awardees. We are celebrating the 39th Awards of Distinction, and many past honorees are with us tonight. Please join me in welcoming our past honorees, and I would like to give my hands to all of you that have received this honor before. I have new prescription glasses today for the first time. I'm navigating through a lot of blurry in my eyesight. Some of you probably know what I'm talking about. Please also join me in recognizing the hard work and commitment of our distinguished Alumni Awards Steering Committee. I am grateful to you all for making it possible to recognize this dedicated group of alumni and friends of the Brown School. So to you all, I also would like us to give a hand. Lastly, we have some special guests joining us tonight, and I hope you will help me give them a warm Brown School welcome. Chancellor Emeritus Mike Wrighton and Reeses Wrighton. Vice Provost and our always and dear friend and Dean and colleague, Vice Provost for Interdisciplinary Initiatives, Mary McKay. Our dear friend and former Dean of the Brown School, Eddie Lawler and Betsy Lawler. Dean Permuter, Executive Vice Chancellor for Medical Affairs and Dean of the School of Medicine, who is joining us tonight. Bill Powderly, Larry J. Shapiro, Director of the Institute for Public Health. Bill. And also our dear Brown School National Council members, several of you joining us here tonight, and some of you from distance. Thank you so much. Our alumni base broadens in size and scope. Tonight's recognition of our alumni reflects the progress we have made and the importance of our efforts in the fields of social work, public health, and social policy to bring about positive change. I will begin with our Emerging Leaders Awards. Doneisha Bohannon is a 2014 graduate of Masters of Public Health program, currently serving as the Director of Community Health Partnerships and Collaboration at the BGC Healthcare. Doneisha is personally and professionally committed to public health and health equity in our region. Please join me as we hear from Doneisha.
Started with the Brown School as a staff member right after undergrad, which was a really exciting opportunity for me to lean in and grow professionally and personally. I was able to connect with a variety of professors, staff, and students, and really saw the high caliber research opportunities and professional opportunities that the Brown School provided. So for me, it was a no-brainer to select the Brown School as the location in which I would earn my Master's of Public Health.
Doneisha, I'm honored to recognize you and to present you with the Emerging Leader Award. Congratulations, Doneisha. Stephanie Schmit joined us tonight from Washington, D.C., where she's a director of child care and early education at the Center of Law and Social Policy, a 2010 Masters of Social Work alumna. She's dedicated to improving the lives of children across the country through social policy. Let's hear from Stephanie.
I feel like I've always known
There's always a glitch, right?
He started with the Brown School as a staff member right after undergrad, which was a
I started my education, my higher education, seeking to get a degree in social work to be able to work directly with children and their parents and families more broadly. When I came to the Brown School and WashU, I was just really blown away by everything from the people that I met, both the other students who I am so grateful for and stay in contact with, some of whom have become my best friends, but also the teachers and just the approach that the teachers took. It was really about the process and the experience and what you would learn and take away from it. And also, learning from one another and challenging one another was just sort of a core component of every one of the classes. And I just really appreciated that approach and have taken that with me in my approach to the world and also my career long term. My practicum experience at the National Center for Parents as Teachers was truly transformational in my thinking about my long-term career trajectory. I had the most wonderful supervisor, Sue Steepleton. I got the wonderful experience of doing a lot of great learning on the policy front, and it kind of opened my eyes in ways I wasn't expecting to just what you can do as a social worker in policy and how much of a difference you can make on a larger scale, on the macro scale. And I fell in love with it. I wanted to make sure when I left the Brown School that I did everything that I could to help social workers understand that social workers are so important to the policy process, that social workers are so valuable because of the just idea and way that social workers approach their work, thinking about the person in the context of the environment that they live in. So was very fortunate to be connected with folks who were coming to DC to get a better sense of what that looks like in reality and sort of assess what they might want to do. And I have so enjoyed getting to talk to students who are exploring their options and sharing what I see as possible and the value that I see, and hope that I might have changed a mind or two along the way to influence somebody to take the path of policy. I'm honored and feel very grateful to be someone who is considered an emerging leader. I would really just like to thank the Brown School for, having this program and for giving me the experiences that I had while I was there. Without the sort of approach that the teachers took and the relationships I created with the students, as well as the practicum opportunity that I had, I don't think I would be in this role that I'm in today. And then, of course, I would also like to thank Sue Steepleton, who has just been a tremendous mentor for me from the very first day that I walked into the National Center for Parents as Teachers as a practicum student when I was at the Brown School to now, just thinking of me and my family and being a support for me throughout my career, just very appreciative. And then, of course, my family too, my husband, Ryan, who has always been my number one career supporter and biggest fan, and always challenging me to do more and to take on things that I don't feel like I can. And then also to my workplace, to CLASP, who has provided me with this great workplace that I've been at for a long time, to my colleagues at the organization who have become my friends and have supported me throughout my career trajectory and provided me with the ability to do something that I love, utilizing my social work career. And of course, we can't end without thanking my parents and also my in-laws, who have been great supporters of me throughout my life and through my education experience and through my career to where I am now.
Stephanie, I'm honored to recognize you and to present you with the Emerging Leader Award. Well, thank you, Stephanie, and congrats. We will listen from Doneisha again, because we had a glitch there, but we want to listen to you. So let's do that now.
We started with the Brown School as a staff member right after undergrad, which was a really exciting opportunity for me to lean in and grow professionally and personally. I was able to connect with a variety of professors, staff, and students, and really saw the high caliber research opportunities and professional opportunities that the Brown School provided. So for me, it was a no-brainer to select the Brown School as the location in which I would earn my Master's of Public Health. While I was at Centene, I had an incredible experience connecting with folks across the nation. And for me, I really wanted to connect back to the state of Missouri. There was a lot going on in the world with the unrest, and I saw that there was a really great opportunity for me to lean in and utilize my professional background as well as my skills to be able to affect change in my own community. I made the very tough decision to make a transition over to Missouri Foundation for Health. In that role, I was able to travel across the state of Missouri to build relationships with people from all walks of life and really got to understand the true beauty in our state. I'm born and raised here in St. Louis. I grew up in North City. I currently live in North City, and I really felt that working on the COVID-19 regional response team allowed me to narrow my geography down quite a bit and work with partners and individuals and organizations that were here in my own community. So when this opportunity with BJC Healthcare came about to really help develop this new community health improvement team as the director of community health partnerships and collaborations, it was really, really a nice fit with me for where my professional journey had gone and put me in a position to where I was able to work at a health system level at this particular point in my career and develop relationships with system leaders as well as our clinical teams and with individuals and organizations across our community to ensure that we were co-designing solutions that would address health equity. For students that are just getting started in public health, I would just say that public health is huge. There are so many opportunities that you can lean into as a public health professional. You can go to work at the local or state health departments, or you can work on research teams, or you can work at health systems, whatever you're interested in the public health sphere, and really lean into your passion. And whatever you're passionate about, just continue to center that and continue to build your career around that. It won't steer you wrong. It is such an incredible honor to be recognized as an emerging leader. It's what I have been able to do in collaboration with our partners and community members and impacted individuals and residents across this beautiful region. And for me, this award just really brings that to life, and it just continues to energize me. First and foremost, I want to thank Doug Luke and Sarah Moreland Russell for giving me the opportunity after undergrad to join their team and work on tobacco policy research. I would also like to thank Dr. Janine Harris for being extremely supportive of me as well when I was not only a staff member, but a student. I'd also like to thank Dr. Jason Purnell. He continues to provide me with incredible opportunities to advance health equity across our region. And I continue to thank him on a daily basis for being so instrumental. And each day that we get to work together, I learn from him. I'd also like to thank my family and friends and my entire community for really being supportive and always uplifting me. I have a core mission to work with community to ensure that I'm doing everything that I possibly can to ensure that our community has the opportunity to thrive.
Thank you, Doneisha. I'm pleased to recognize our next emerging leader, Natalie Self, who is influential in our St. Louis community and committed to racial equity and community development. Natalie received her Master's of Social Work in 2012, and today is the Senior Vice President of Equitable Economic Impact, Cortex Innovation Community. Stephanie was not able to join us tonight, but I'd like us to give a hand and congratulate her on this award. I'm very honored to recognize you, Natalie, and I'm sure you're watching us, so congratulations. Now please join me in giving a round of applause to all our emerging leaders that received this award today. Congratulations to the three of you. As recent graduates, you inspire us, and all are leading the way in the fields of, and you all are leading the ways in the fields of social work, public health, and social policy. Now, please join me in welcoming to the stage my interim co-dean, my friend and colleague, Tonya Edmond, to introduce our distinguished Alumni Award recipients.
Thank you, Rodrigo. As my co-dean shared, I'm Tonya Edmond. I'm a professor of social work and the interim co-dean of the Brown School, which is a tremendous pleasure and honor. As I listen to the presentations of awards to our incredible emerging leaders, I'm reminded why I came to the Brown School 23 years ago. I shared at a toast earlier that I have come to this every year since the very first year I was here. Was inspired.
I'm an accidental social worker. I say that to everyone.
And that's Natalie Self, someone we should be celebrating and listening to.
As a member of the Coro Fellowship in Public Affairs, and really enjoyed getting to know the city from a wide perspective, really understanding how different sectors come together to affect social change, understanding policy as well as direct service. And I knew that I wanted to continue my education. And I met with someone at the Brown School, and I wasn't exactly sure what it was that I wanted to do yet, but I threw out everything that I could think of. Student affairs, community development, collective impact. And every time I threw something out, they said, yep, social workers can do that. And so it was just a really great fit. And I'm really, really glad that I made that decision. The great thing about my experience at the Brown School was that I could really tailor it to what I was interested in at the time. Once I was able to take those base classes, I really had an opportunity to shape what it was that I wanted to do, whether it was inside the classroom or outside of the classroom. So I worked closely with my advisor, Barbara Levine, and we thought about, what might really specific practica be that would give me the type of learning that I wanted to do. So she helped me find a local government practicum. And then we did elective practicum by second year. And so being able to tailor that in a well-rounded, holistic experience was really important for my learning. My path in social work has definitely been winding, non-traditional perhaps, but deeply fulfilling. And besides the focus on social change and racial equity and economic equity that undergirds all of my opportunities, there's a real commitment around skill sets and frameworks. I believe deeply that social work holds the keys to all of our big problems. The joy of social work is that if you leverage the skills that you get in building relationships, listening to understand, building trust, looking at systems, evaluation, research, we actually don't have to have the answers as practitioners, right? We can set the space to get information, to have folks that are most impacted tell us what the answers are. And so it's very surprising, it's very humbling to be receiving this award because it is so important to me that social workers are a part of all of our sectors, all of our organizations. And so to be seen as someone who is leading in that is really surprising and very humbling. There is an endless list of people to thank. One of the things that I learned really early on in my life, and I think is core to social work, is that community is everything. And I am absolutely a product of my community and my family and my friends and my professors from the Brown School and the professors in my undergrad that believed in me and my choro trainers and my bosses and even my 6-year-old Lucy May. Every single person has poured into me, and part of why this recognition is so humbling for me is because it's really important for me to pour into other folks as well. And so I'm clear that I am where I'm at as a result of hard work, of course, but also a whole lot of luck. And I'm really, really grateful for everyone that's had their hand in my journey.
Yay, Natalie. I'm so glad we got to see that. And as you can see, as we're moving out of the pandemic into in-person events, that we are a little rusty and working out some of our familiarity with hosting events in person. So thank you for your patience as we navigate this space. What I started to say a few moments ago is I've had the pleasure of being here for 23 years, and I've come to this event every year that I've been here because it is inspiring to see people move through this educational process and go out into the world and have the kind of tremendous impact that leads us to come into a room together tonight and to celebrate them. So truly, to all of our emerging leaders who are here, know how deeply inspiring you are. And you'll notice this common thread among these Brown School graduates that we're recognizing tonight, and it's that all of them have demonstrated their deep commitment to equity through different career paths, but nonetheless with this common thread of equity. So we are thrilled that you're here and that we are getting an opportunity to recognize your incredible work. So now what I'd like to do is move into honoring our distinguished alumni awardees. I'd like to start by introducing Tandy Levine, a member of the Brown School National Council, a therapist, teacher, and passionate volunteer. She graduated from the Brown School with a Master's of Social Work in 1975, at the time known as George Warren Brown School of Social Work, and ever since has been a passionate advocate for mental health and the Brown School. Please join me as we hear more from Tandy.
I feel like I've always known, ever since I was young, that I wanted to be a social worker. I attended the Brown School of Social Work in 1974. It was the best decision I ever made in terms of starting a career, because not only did I learn about how to do clinical work, but I was enveloped in this community, which was nurturing, intellectual, and prepared me for being out in the profession. I started my career as a social worker, working with children who had special needs. From there, moved back to Washington, D.C., where I worked at St. Elizabeth's Hospital. I started there as a school social worker, and then I became a clinical administrator of 2 admission wards. I went into private practice after about 10 years, and I'm still doing my practice, where I work with individuals, couples, and groups. I am a part of an organization called Give an Hour, where I provide free therapy to veterans and family members of veterans. I've served on the board of directors of various agencies throughout my career, including the Kingsbury Day School for Children with Special Needs, Resolve, Families for Private Adoption. I've been on the executive committee of the American Academy of Psychotherapists. I'm a clinical instructor at the George Washington University School of Medicine and Behavioral Sciences in Washington, D.C. The Brown School's emphasis on community and social awareness has influenced my career throughout my life and has kept my feet to the fire. I feel like I'm curing mental illness one person at a time. When I was asked to join the National Council by Dean Eddie Lowler, I established the Tandy Levine Fund for Clinical Advancement for students at the Brown School. It gives me an opportunity to mentor Brown School students in a large professional conference where they can learn in depth about doing psychotherapy and networking and being with other therapists from all over the country.
I was fortunate enough to meet Tandy Levine in 2019 when I applied for a scholarship for the AAP conference in Atlanta, Georgia. Tandy and I quickly became much more than just applicant and grantor. We developed a professional relationship that is extended way past the conference, and she not only acts as a mentor to me, but she also helps me to understand all of the inner workings of social work and how my practice can truly make a difference. Currently, I am a social worker at the Armed Forces Retirement Center, and daily I use the teachings that I've learned from Tandy, not only from the things that she shared with me academically, but also from her professional example, to make a difference in the lives of America's heroes.
It is a great honor to be recognized by my alma mater for living up to their high standards of social work. I am deeply touched and grateful to be given this award. I'd like to thank Michael Kaufman, who reconnected me with the Brown School. And I would like to thank Dean Eddie Lowler, who recognized that I might add value to the National Council. I also want to thank Dean Mary McKay, who continues to teach me the grace and dignity of being a professional in the community and the world.
Tandy, I am honored to recognize you and to present you with the Distinguished Alumni Award. you, Tandy. I'm proud to recognize Uma Siegel as our next honoree. Uma earned her PhD in social work from the Brown School and dedicated her career to global communities. As a Curator's Distinguished Faculty Member at UMSL, her research on immigrant and refugee integration has made an impact across the world. Please join me in hearing from Uma.
I would say that it takes a village to develop a career. And from the time I was young, my family, my parents really encouraged higher education. My aunt, Dr. Nazneen Maldas, who is actually an alumna of the Brown School, then the George Warren Brown School of Social Work, said, have you tried social work? And I said, well, I'm not quite sure what social work is. And in fact, she received this award about 15 or 20 years ago. And so she was the hand that pulled me into social work, and she pretty much was my mentor, directed me to the Brown School after I got my master's in social work. I think what the Brown School gave me was the ability to do research, to learn how to gather data. It provided me the environment, the colleagues, the support, the mentorship that I really needed to do what I needed to do. It allowed an amazing work-life balance. And then, of course, my husband, Madhav, and my two sons, Zubin and Sal, made it possible for me to do the international things I wanted to do, accommodated my leaving and so on and so forth. I'm not sure what came first, the international work or the love for international travel. Traveling internationally is one thing, it's enjoyable, but when one works with people from different countries, the experience is so much richer. You learn so much more about the culture, you learn so much more about the people. You also learn that in the final analysis, we're more.
Just one more little technical glitch.
Pretty much was my mentor, directed me to the Brown School after I got my master's. Brown School gave me was the ability to do research, to learn how to gather data. It provided me the environment, the colleagues, the support, the mentorship that I really needed to do what I needed to do. It allowed an amazing work-life balance. And then, of course, my husband, Madhav, and my two sons, Zubin and Sal, made it possible for me.
I must say, I know that if I were the person trying to fix this problem right now, I would be so stressed out.
The colleagues, the support, the mentorship that I really needed to do what I needed to do. It allowed an amazing work-life balance. And then, of course, my husband, Madhav, and my two sons, Zubin and Sal, made it possible for me to do the international things I wanted to do, accommodated my leaving and so on and so forth. I'm not sure what came first, the international work or the love for international travel. Traveling internationally is one thing, it's enjoyable, but when one works with people from different countries, the experience is so much richer. You learn so much more about the culture, you learn so much more about the people. You also learn that in the final analysis, we're more similar than we're different. So I think when one bears that in mind, it's possible to go to any country and feel comfortable. I think what is the foundation of social work is really starting with where the client is, putting oneself in the other person's shoes, being open to new experiences, being not judgmental in terms of where the other person is coming from. Almost all social work is done in organizations. And if we don't understand how organizations function, we're not really able to navigate for our clients what we need to navigate. And so my advice to social workers or social work students is to always realize that the impact of macro is pretty significant on the functioning of our practice. I'm humbled by the fact that the school has seen fit to recognize my achievements. I have to say that those achievements would not have been possible if I'd not had the colleagues and the environment that I have at UMSL. But I think to be recognized by Washington University, the top school in the country, is very humbling, and I'm truly appreciative and grateful for this honor. Well, I have to say that my greatest supporter and encourager has been my husband, Madhav. My aunt, Dr. Nazneen Madhav, who received the same award from Washington University several years ago, not only drew me into social work, but really was the impetus for my work, who encouraged me, who pushed me, even when I didn't know I needed to be pushed. And I think she would have been very proud. My colleagues, as I mentioned to you earlier, Dean Lois Pierce and Dr. Joel Glassman, director of the Center for International Studies, were amazing supports, and without them, I really couldn't have done any of the international work that I've done.
Uma, it is my honor to recognize you and to present you with the Distinguished Alumni Award. Again, my apologies to the honorees for the technical difficulties and my gratitude for the generosity and graciousness of everyone's patience. Thank you, Uma, for all that you have done. Our next honoree is Esther Shin, a WashU graduate of both undergraduate's Arts and Sciences and the Brown School. With her Master's of Social Work, she has spent her career committed to community development and transformation, and is now president of Urban Strategies. Let's learn more about Esther, hopefully.
We're always gravitated towards social justice issues around race, disparity. I came across someone who had just completed her degree at the George Warren Brown School of Social Work. She was doing amazing work that I just simply never heard of. And so as a result, I did my investigation, and I applied to the Brown School, and fortunately received my acceptance. And that was my pathway to a social work degree. The community development coursework, which really, in some ways set me on my path to where I am today, which is, I've devoted and committed my career to community transformation and community engagement. And so those courses in graduate school really left a mark. During my time at George Warren Brown, that really set up the opportunity for me to meet the individual that set me on the path to where I am today. That community development experience in Forest Park Southeast was absolutely transformative for me. When I started out really as a community organizer. From there, have transitioned to a number of different roles inside the organization, and then at the beginning of 2017 assumed the leadership role. And so, during my time, between the practicum at Brown School and my career, it was almost a seamless transition because of the type of work that I was doing. And from my experience in my practicum and then my work experience, what I found is my favorite part of the work is engaging with community. When I look at the last couple of years between the pandemic and the racial justice issues and challenges that I see children and families facing on the ground today, what we're doing and how we're doing it is not cutting it. We have to do something different. And I think that in the social work field, we need to have real honest conversations about what disrupting systems look like. I mean, I have such a strong connection to Washington University, to the Brown School. To get this award is just such a deep honor for me, and it's my alma mater double, and so to be recognized is sincerely, it's a great moment in my career. I would like to thank my family. First and foremost, my husband, James. He was with me when I was going through the graduate program, so he knows the intensity. He knows what that was like, so I have such appreciation for him. And I want to thank my parents who gave me every opportunity to be here and in this place. I want to thank my board chair, Richard Barron, who gave me my first introduction and really my first opportunity to do this work. He's such a visionary, and being able to follow his vision, that is an honor. And I want to thank my team, specifically Donovan Duncan, who's our executive vice president. These are individuals who have done a lot, and I absolutely want to thank my mentor and the former president of Urban Strategies, who's Sandra Moore. She mentored me for over 17 years. I learned so much from her and wouldn't be in this position today without her leadership.
Esther, I am honored to recognize you and to present you with the Distinguished Alumni Award. Congratulations, Esther. Our final Distinguished Alumni honoree of the evening is Irene Song. Irene is also an alumna of both WashU Arts and Sciences and the Brown School, graduating with her Master's of Social Work in 2002. She is committed to serving immigrant communities and is the Executive Director of Hanal Family Alliance. Please join me in listening and hearing from Irene.
I came to the United States when I was 15 years old, thinking that I would become a musician, a cellist. But things drastically changed when my family moved to St. Louis, Missouri. That's when I started my connection with WashU. I ended up going to Washington University to study international studies and East Asian studies. And at that time, I always had interest in developing countries, working with international organizations. And then someone who was part of the MSW program at the Brown School, who was actually a friend of my brother, introduced me to the world of social work. During my MSW program, I did a practicum at the International Institute of St. Louis, where I was able to experience Professor Michael Sheridan's Individual Development Account Program in action. I got so excited to be working with the refugee communities in the St. Louis. Then I quickly realized that I wanted to work with larger immigrant and refugee communities, and that's where I found this wonderful organization that I'm working today in Chicago. Today, the organization grew into a much bigger entity that today serves people of all national ethnicities, people of all ages. And the agency, in fact, took the name Hano, Family Alliance. And Hano means a Korean word that means one large community. Things that I enjoyed the most when I was in Brown School was actually being able to meet with MSW students from all over the world. I was just stunned to meet students from China, from India, from European countries, from all over the world that I would never have had the chance to meet otherwise. One of the things that I say to students all the time is that a wonderful leader should never stop learning and always be open to learn from everyone around you. I was so happy that I finally am getting acknowledged. This institution that I love and that I have cherished for so long. I think it means so much to me and also to all of my team members here at Family Alliance. I so appreciate the opportunity that the school gave me 20-some years ago to learn all about the social work. And you really have made me who I am today as a leader. Thank you so much. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank 3 people that are affiliated with Brown School. First person was a friend of my brother who passed away, who introduced me to the world of social work. Second MSW Brown School graduate is a co-worker who invited me to this wonderful organization in Chicago. And lastly, Professor Sojung Park, who had been with me in the past many years as I grow up as a professional. She was always there to support me, guide me, and I so appreciate her nomination. I would like to extend my gratitude to my board of directors at Hano Family Alliance, who has trusted me and worked with me, supported me with all the times that we were struggling as an organization and as a person who was constantly striving to become a better leader. Thank you so much for your support. And lastly, I do thank my family members for their support and everything so that I can do this work.
Irene, I am honored to recognize you and to present you with the Distinguished Alumni Award. Thank you, Irene. And now I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming our former dean and current faculty member and someone I hold dear in my heart, our Vice Provost for Interdisciplinary Initiatives, Mary McKay. Dr. Mary McKay.
Thank you, and congratulations to all of our distinguished alumni. It is now my honor to present to the Nussbaum family the Brown School Dean Medal in memory of Sam Nussbaum. So I'm going to ask you to join me for just a moment of silence. For those of you that knew Sam, a happy memory, a message. Please honor Sam's impact in his life. So Sam would say, enough. So thank you. Thank you for bringing Sam and his life and his impact and his family into our space. So please join me so that we can hear from many members of the Washington University community as well as Sam's family as we celebrate his impact.
Sam was a beloved member of the Washington University School of Medicine.
He was personable, caring, sensitive, and a great medical doctor.
I have to say that Sam showed up as himself in every one of the interactions with me. Inquisitive, bright, driven, inspiring, good-humored. And I have to say, I will carry that forward always.
Sam was fun to be with. He told great stories, was still quite busy working at various responsibilities, but he had always made time and a concerted effort to advance the work of the Brown School and to advise about the path forward.
Sam was very passionate about his work and had a background from his teaching and faculty at Mass General and Harvard. And he brought all of his skills and all of his beliefs for a better university at Washington University and contributed in more meaningful ways than we could count.
Sam was very precise, decisive, really cut to the kernel of a problem and could help you solve it. And I think from that perspective, he was always someone that would give you cogent advice and thoughtful ways of approaching challenges.
I think of Sam as a 360-degree person. He was very smart, very expert at what he does, very wise, like somebody you always went to for good counsel. But he's also very humble. People who know him, he's very soft-spoken, and he's very engaged in the moment with who you are and what you're working on.
He was a great friend, a great family member, a great advocate for medicine, a great advocate for public health. His accomplishments were numerous and very significant. I'm very proud that I had the opportunity to come to know him, and I know that he cared deeply about the progress of the Brown School.
He came to Washington University with a background second to none to help us at the National Council. His care for the human condition manifested itself in numerous ways, and he really was part of the think tank of how we were able to evaluate and advance many of the initiatives for public health.
I can say that my dad absolutely loved WashU. He loved WashU. And as you've probably heard, he did not go to WashU. And as you also may have heard, I'm the only one of the siblings who actually went to WashU. My brother and sister went to wonderful Ivy League schools, but Ivy League, Schmivy League, it didn't matter when it came to WashU. My dad knew that this was arguably the greatest school in America.
He had a unique understanding of the business of medicine, public health, and the importance of academic medicine. In particular, the nuances of how education and research established a culture of improvement essential for the future of better health in the community.
One of the things I talked about in Dad's memorial was that there was kind of a paradox to him, which is that everything could be better. He pushed himself, he pushed his kids, he drove architects and car dealers and contractors and appraisers, and as I said, his kids crazy, because everything could be better. You could do better on this assignment, you could do better in this sports team. But it was leavened by this other thing that he had going on, which is that at the same time as everything could be better, everything was perfect.
This group obviously knows that my dad was the utmost professional and he was so brilliant, but they probably don't know some of his quirkier side. So my dad loved animals, especially cats. And I used to go to cat shows with him. Like you picture Best in Show with the dogs, they had that for felines. And I grew up with 3 cats, and we had 2 cats at the time. And my mom really asked that we not get any more, bring any more home. She did not like them. And my dad and I went to a cat show when I was like 10. And he fell in love with this exotic breed. It was a combination type cat. And we brought it home.
He had a lot of passions outside of work. He worked hard. He worked all the time. But he loved gardening. He loved swimming. He loved going for jogs. Even more than he loved going for jogs, he loved delaying going for jogs. So he would putter around the house in a Bill Rogers tracksuit with his New Balance shoes, just munching on one more strip of bacon before he went out for a jog.
One thing I really love about my dad that's so special is he was as comfortable in a garden wearing 10-year-old sneakers as he was in a boardroom. He was a Renaissance man in many ways, just as far as his range of what he was interested in, what he knew about. So his knowledge was so beautiful, but I really do have so many great memories of him in his garden, in Martha's Vineyard, and in Massachusetts, or in Boston, Massachusetts, where I grew up, and he had a garden as well, and just a lot of great memories of him producing wonderful things from the earth.
Sam really felt that medical science and medical advances should impact everybody. He was a strong proponent of addressing the disparities that we see.
His deep commitment to the health and well-being of all, his leadership in and his vision of having health-oriented organizations and partnerships not only succeed but innovate.
I had the occasion to get some genuinely personal help and advice from Sam, and he is just very, very wise. I can't equate his personality and investment in his friends and his causes with anybody else I know.
He was really interested in people. Like, he wasn't faking it at a cocktail party when he would follow this line of this conversation all the way to the type of agar used in someone's petri dish for whatever science experiment, and they could have been a Nobel laureate or an 8th grader. He truly was just fascinated in every detail of everything and would remember it.
People have asked what lessons I'll bring forward from his life into my own, and I find myself chuckling because I can't help it. I'm becoming him. I think about when I push my daughters, I hear his voice pushing me on my math homework.
He was a lot softer as a grandfather than even as a father. I think we always felt these sort of rigid standards, and he was a little bit of a pusher in terms of academic achievement and athletic achievement. But with our children, he just had a soft spot for them.
He loved curling up with the grandkids. We have pictures of him constantly falling asleep as he helped put the kids to bed.
He was the most amazing grandfather, and he's such a special person. He's not just a regular guy. There's nothing basic about my dad. He was incredibly special, and I guess everyone must feel that way about their father, or I hope everybody feels that way about their fathers. But my dad really was unique and special, soft-spoken, warm, philanthropic, brilliant, and loving. And I miss him very much.
So I think I've really taken from him the ability to live in the moment as best I can without being worried about what's to come or what's in the rearview mirror. He always wanted me to move forward and show up in ways that were often uncomfortable. But I've taken that with me now. If I have a question and I'm in a group setting, I will ask. And I will ask because he would always ask.
Obviously, I will try to bring forward into my life his love of everything, his sense of gratitude that everything was the best, but his constant desire for improvement, his constant desire to make everything better, even as he recognized that a lot of things were pretty wonderful.
Everything was the best. and everything could be better. I am so grateful to people that spoke to us today about Sam. And I am honored. I cannot think about a better way to elevate Sam and the difference that he and Rhoda, your whole family, and our collective here has made in this world. The Dean's Medal, it's special. It's meant for exceptional friends of the Brown School, whose partnership and their support matters, makes it possible for us to do our best work in social work, in public health and social policy. So friends like Sam, thank goodness, Eddie, they tell the Dean what to do. They advise the Dean. They advise our community to be its best. And so, Rhoda, you, Sam, welcomed myself, my husband, our family when we came here in 2016, and you never stopped supporting the Brown School. I was fortunate enough to have Sam join the National Council just a few years later. Did you get the smile? Did you see the smile in every picture? His support, but he also brought his A game. He brought his knowledge of public health, his knowledge of healthcare, his discernment about how we could do better. Sam was kind, he was committed, and he helped us to be our best. Even in those moments that we might have called the pandemic, and I was wondering, as a dean, are you doing a good job? And Sam said, keep it up. You're doing what you're supposed to. This is the most challenging time in higher education, and you're going to help the community get through it. Sam smiled. Do your best. And so I'm incredibly grateful for his support, and it's an honor, Rhoda, to present to you, to your family, the Dean's Medal. On behalf of Sam, please join me upstage. Everybody smile, just like Sam. Okay. Thank you. Rhoda, please, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. If Sam was here to speak, I would tell you to get comfortable because she would be here for several hours. But I will be brief. I want to thank the Brown School, in particular Mary McKay. And I want to recognize my son, Jeff, my wonderful niece, Lisa, my sister-in-law, Isla. I also want to say a special thanks to Mark Wrighton. Sam's love of WashU was in large part a reflection of his love of Mark. I just want to add a couple of thoughts to the video you just saw. When I met Sam in college, he was a history major. For anyone who traveled with him, you know that his love of historical facts, lots of historical facts, never went away. When he went into medicine, his love of learning branched out into teaching, patient care, and research. He once said, "It can be satisfying to be a bricklayer, but also satisfying to be an architect." That's why, ultimately, he wanted to work to improve health care for entire populations. That's why we relocated to St. Louis for this next phase of his career. We literally moved to Clayton one day after our daughter Kara started at WashU. Some children move away from home to attend college. Some parents bring the home right there to within a mile of the college. Among many interests, Sam considered himself construction site manager for this Hillman Hall. He even donned a hard hat with Mark to direct the progress. The finished product earned his praise, which many of us know was offered in the exact same way that he offered his family medical care, rarely and in small doses. We understand that this recognition is for a lifetime of Sam's work. But when we see this award, it will serve as a reminder and an inspiration for all of us to continue his work. We are enormously grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rhoda. Thank you for sharing those remarks. Thank you for bringing your family, and thank you for bringing Sam to us today. So now I would like to invite Dean Edmond to come on up and close our ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me once again to congratulate our 2022 Awards of Distinction honorees. Please let's give them another round of applause. Many of our recent graduates and current students are joining us virtually tonight, and I hope that they are as inspired and encouraged by the commitments to the fields of social work, public health, and social policy that we have seen here tonight. Please join me and my co-dean Rodrigo outside in the Nussbaum Plaza in Home and Family Gardens for a dinner reception and an opportunity to celebrate with our honorees. Thank you all again for being here to recognize these outstanding members of the Brown School community.